Good evening, my friends. Welcome back to a short installment of Read Aloud tonight. Let's read something together, but before we read something, I need your help with something. So I know that in the last few of our little get-togethers, I have alluded to different ideas for what we could read next. I'm still torn. There are only so many minimally problematic works of fiction in the English language that are also in the public domain. And I've got some ideas, but honestly, I feel like this might be a job for the hive mind. I've got 4 different possibilities for Read Aloud that I'm kind of torn between, and I want to see what people are interested in. There was a great public upswell of support for Christmas Carol right before Christmas last year, and I had more people watch those, and more people were able to watch and enjoy those Christmas Carol videos than anything else that we have read together so far. So I just wanted to see if there was something that people were really feeling, then I'm going to go with that. So here are my options, and all of this information is on a Google form that I created. The link is wherever on your screen the information for this video shows up. But if you click on the link, it's a 2-question survey. And it explains what the 4 options that I'm thinking about are. So the first option is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. That's a classic. We have a copy of it here. I haven't actually read the book, but I grew up watching the old CBC version from 1985 and the sequel. My wife loves this one and says it's amazing, and I know it wouldn't be a mistake to read this one, and I would gladly read it to you. That's the first option. The second option is Peter Pan, the original novel by J.M. Barrie. I'm very familiar with this one. My kids love this one. There's a little bit of problematic language and depiction of the Indian characters. I've read enough analysis that could be considered a form of satire depending on your perspective. That's not something that I'm going to say that I'm an expert on, though. And if we're not feeling Peter Pan, then I don't have to read Peter Pan. But that's option number 2. Third option, this is a random deep cut that I recently looked up and found. If you are a history buff, you may be aware that once upon a time, a book was published called The Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan. It was about the world's largest ship, which was bigger and faster than any other ship that had ever been built. And in the middle of its maiden voyage, it hits an iceberg and sinks in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean with catastrophic loss of life. Now, if that seems derivative to you, the interesting thing about The Futility is it was published in 1898, a full 14 years before the Titanic struck an iceberg on its maiden voyage and sank with catastrophic loss of life. I have found the book online on Gutenberg.org. I haven't read it yet. It might be terrible. Like, the only reason anybody knows or pays any attention to this book anymore is the fact that it was, like, sort of eerily predictive of actual horrible, tragic events that happened later. Having said that, for the sake of discovery, I would read it to you if you wanted me to read it. So that's our third option. And the fourth option is just suggest something else. If you're not feeling Anne of Green Gables or Peter Pan or The Futility, go right ahead and let me know and give me a suggestion. I do pay attention to those things. I'm always up for new ideas. So if you get the chance, please fill out the the survey. The link, oh, Judy got it. Judy found it. Okay, so if you get the chance, fill it out. Now, the other thing, that was the first thing that I wanted to do. The other thing that I wanted to do while we were here, I wanted to read something to you. And I wanted to read something this evening in honor of my good friend Edward Pease. Months and months ago, when I was like, hey, what should I read? He said, you should read The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. It's part of my friend Ed's nature. He's very dry. So I wasn't sure if he really wanted me to or if he was just being facetious, but I've read through it. It's pretty good. So I think he meant it. So in your honor, Ed, I'm going to read The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. It's not a long poem. It's available online if you want to look it up. It was published in 1915, and so it is in the public domain in these United States. I begin at the beginning. It starts with basically an inscription in Italian, which I'm going to pull out my old understanding of Italian pronunciations based on high school solo and ensemble. If you speak Italian, please have mercy, and I hope you forgive me soon. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. S'io credesse che mia risposta fosse a persona che mai tornesse al mondo, questa fiamma staria senza più scosse, ma persio che giammai di questo fondo non torno vivo alcun, s'iodo il vero, senza tema d'infamia ti rispondo. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels, and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells, streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent, to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains, let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was a soft October night, curled once about the house, and fell asleep. And indeed there will be time, for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes, there will be time. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. Time for you, and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions, and for 100 visions and revisions, before the taking of a toast and tea. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare? And do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair with a bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say, how his hair is growing thin. My morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions, which a minute will reverse. For I have known them all already, known them all. Have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the voices dying with a dying fall, beneath the music from a farther room. So how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, known them all. The eyes that fix you in a formulated phrase, and when I am formulated, sprawling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out all the butt ends of my days and ways? And how should I presume? And I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight downed with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl? And should I then presume? And how should I begin? Shall I say, I have gone at dusk through narrow streets and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows? I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. And the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired, or it malingers, stretched on the floor here beside you and me. Should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moment to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head, grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here's no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker, and in short, I was afraid. And would it have been worth it after all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea, among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me, would it have been worthwhile to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus, come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all, if one, settling a pillow by her head, should say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all. And would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worthwhile? After the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and this, and so much more, is it impossible to say just, or it is impossible to say just what I mean? But as if a magic lantern threw the nerves and patterns on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if one, settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl, and turning toward the window should say, that is not it at all. That is not what I meant at all. No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. Am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince, no doubt, an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious, and meticulous, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse, at times, indeed, almost ridiculous, almost, at times, the fool. I grow old. I grow old. I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing, each to each. I do not think that they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back when the wind blows the water white and black. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by sea-girls wreathed with seaweed, red and brown, till human voices wake us, and we drown. Well, Ed, I love you, and you're welcome. And it has been so long since I read that it was all new to me. I really kind of like that. I like the rhythm of it. I caught the allusion to John the Baptist, and there was that bit about Shakespeare in there. So that was excellent. It made me think about the passage of time and human mortality, and all those long ago memories that don't seem that long ago, but to people who aren't you, it must have been a very long time ago, because good grief, you're almost 40. So, all right. That's all I got for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed the poem. I hope you get a chance to take a look at the form, because I am very interested to hear what you have to say about what we should read next. This is why I do this. I read for you, because it helps me feel a little bit more like myself to be reading to people. I I have heard from people that this is a meaningful part of your weekly routine. I'm very glad to be a part of that. And I want this to be as enjoyable for you as possible. So let me know what you think. And I will resolve to start on Sunday night with wherever the consensus is. So in the meantime, have a wonderful evening. Stay warm. It's getting warmer. If you're in Texas, I hope that you're safe. I hope that your power is back on already or is soon. That's all I have for you tonight. Be safe. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Get a vaccine. Tell the people that you love them. And remember that nothing is boring except to people who aren't paying attention.